Hello everybody and welcome to another Wardy's Waffle Farm update. Today I'm going to give you the results from our direct drilling demo. It's taken a lot of putting them together. I've got a lot of a lot of columns on a spreadsheet. You can see there. I'm going to go through that in a minute. Also in this update we've started to build the house at the farm down here at Leadnam. So we look at that and how we get on with that, which we get on quite well in the first week. We've also had a Bednar cultivator on demonstration, so we take a look at that in our bean stubbles, which was really impressive. And that's it for this week. We've been concentrating mainly on the house and making sure the builders have got all the stone and everything they need. So let's crack on with this update, and I'll get into the direct drilling demo and all the results we've had from it, because it is really, really fascinating. Just started digging the foundations for the new house. Those of you regular viewers have seen us pull the old house down. This is going in virtually the same place, but obviously a different shape. And that's opening up. We're opening that up as well, just to give us a better view out the back. Right next to the yard, which will be great. That's the old footings from the old house. All hands on deck now. We've got the cement lorry here putting the concrete in. Nice and wet so it can find its own level. Perfect time to be doing all this groundwork. It's so hard here, the lorries and every machinery is not making a mark. Here we're just levelling off where we put the drains in from the new offices, and also we've got the sewage treatment tank in just there, and that also does the house as well. That's why it's quite so deep. Just coming to the local quarry to get some building sand to start building the footings, putting the block work up. They've got stuff everywhere. It's only about 5 miles up the road from me. Got about 6 tons in here. But yeah, I've been coming here years and it's a huge quarry. I think this is where we need to be to get out. I haven't been here for about 3 years. There's all the different bays of gravel and sharp sand, soft sand and everything. Very well run family business here, been here years. Lots of different heaps of stone down there. There's a grader, there's a crusher as well. Now there's one hell of a crushing, grading, sorting plant. Coming up now onto the way bridge to way out, and I'll turn right up here. Just putting the dual wheels on the Puma. We've got 8 psi in all of them when we have the duals on, so all 8 wheels, the front and the back. So what are they, 650 65 42s on the rear. That's both the same on the rear, and then 540 65 30s on the front. So we prefer duals and super singles. We just get more grip with them, and it just holds the tractor out a bit better in the springtime. So these fix on with these clamps. You've got the rings there that are fastened onto the wheel, and then you've got this bar with the thread that with this over centre clamp, and then you just put the R-clip through to keep them on tight. So you can alter the thread in there and just turn them. But normally when you take them off, they're normally about right to put back on again. Occasionally you have just the odd thread at the turn to do. And we've got 6 on each wheel at the back, and then we've got just 4 on each one at the front. That just wants turning around to make it level. Now got some blocks arrived, trench blocks to go on the footings. We're just taking them out with the forklifts. Ian's taking the set round to the front of the house with the little Toyota, and then Ruben's taking some out round the back of the house, round the old grass paddock and across the back. So we'll have some across the front of the house and some out the back. Out the front here, and then Ruben's putting them out the back. We're trying this Bednar Swifter disc machine because we're just thinking that we need another cultivator now instead of a direct drill. So we're looking at something like this that will work shallow, but this is only 6 meters wide to try at the moment. But we'll if was whatever we end up with, we could do with a bigger one, probably 10 meters or something like that, to go behind this new tractor when we get it. But we're on the bean stubble here, and you can see all this bindweed, massive amount of bindweed there. It's been sprayed, but obviously the glyphosate will be in there now. We're just taking the pipes out and swapping around, because if you look down here, there's a line down there. The edge of every wing, there's a line there. And when I walked across the field, I noticed the wings, it was gull wing effect, it wasn't level. And that's because we've got a problem with the spool valve on this case. And so we've got one not working, so we've had to unplug the pipes of the wings, but they've had to just release the pressure to take the pipes out. So of course it's made the wings rise up either side. So we've just put them back in and pressured them, and that's actually dropped them down. Yeah, that's looking leveler now. A little bit of moisture still in the soil. That's it, Nala, you have a look as well. But just mixing it up quite well. But we'll aim to plant this with winter wheat. Probably 20th of September time, it will be the first fields. These after beans will be the first ones we do. This really shows the problem we have with bindweed in these beans. They have been sprayed, you saw we did them last week, glyphosate. So about 5 days they've been done, so it's just starting to have effect. But just see how well this has mixed it. We keep altering the GPS settings. Now look at here. Just keep trimming the GPS because it's not quite taking out on the this ridge here. See that green line down there? It's chopping up, mixing it well, pulling it all out by the roots. See there, all those are out, and this here as well. Thank you, Nala. Nala's spotted Howard's lab. Howard's from Sharman's. He's been at Sharman's quite a few years, and it's Sharman's who have got this machine as a demo. Stay, Nala. Wait, wait. Good girl, wait. Just trying it in one of our real heavy clay soiled stubble fields, just to see what it's like. This will be a bit harder than beans. Just looking around the machine, it's well made. It's got depth wheel on each wing. It's got scallop discs front and back. Star wheel there just to keep the edge level. Bit of a shield there also to stop the disc being thrown or the soil being thrown, and then a rear packer at the back. It'd be interesting to see here how it copes with all this straw that we've got. That's doing a nice job on this stubble. Just gone a little bit deeper on this breed by taking the shim out. I'll show you in a minute how we do that. And really good shot now from this side, showing that black shield there, how it's retaining the soil in the width of the machine from that front line of discs. You can see the front disc there just in front of that black shield. That'll be throwing the soil into that shield. Then you've got the little star wheel just levelling it out a little bit. Well made, well thought out machine. It'll be interesting to see if there's any pulling when we get to the other end. Ask Tom and see how if it's any different. But doing a good job, leave a nice level finish. The only thing is, it's a little bit fine to leave it for the to be drilling late in the autumn, because it wouldn't stand much weather. Now you alter the depth just on the shims, so put a shim in there, and then
you should have 6 in there, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 in there. Close the ramp. That's it. And that's the depth set front and back, and then this geometry here all the way through to that front wheel there also alters the depth of the front, and then you pick it up on the arms on the linkage of the tractor. We're just trying a little bit at an angle second time to see what it does.
Yeah, as you say, it's just all...
It's mixed it up a bit more.
So, but I mean, it's just... I mean, such a lovely crop.
We're now starting to stone up the floors. Got a puncture on the trailer that we're fetching stonewood for the house, and this is the trouble. This is an old grain trailer. You've seen it before. It holds about 10 or 12 tons of grain, but these tyres just don't stand up to the road use. So we've got this tyre completely gone. We're trying to get it off, you can see now. So still points us to wanting a 17-ton contract tipper from Bailey. Finally got it off the hub. We've jacked it underneath and put some blocks under the back there so we can get it off. I think that has seen better days.
Yeah.
That's it. So we've got this other wheel on. That's good.
That's unreal, isn't it? What you can't you do on your phone. Nala
loves swimming now, so I'm just going to throw this in the pond. Ready, Nala? Go on in, fetch it. Good girl. And it's great because it's lovely and shallow at the edge for her to come out. And it's just right next to where we're putting a house up. Just before I show you the results and go through them, I'll just explain how we did them. The field wasn't quite square. There was some gorings or garings, however you pronounce it, which part of the country you're in, or some odd-shaped parts of the field on one side. So when we combined the headlands, we took the outsides off the field, and then we went down the tram line because it was all the tram lines had been put in by GPS, and we squared the field off. And took out the garings, the odd-shaped bit on one side. So we're left with a really nice shaped area. And we actually then went one breed through each plot. Now, if you remember, those of you who came, some of the drills actually got the GPS wrong. So the first plot, the first breed down the side of their plot, some of them are actually slightly double drilled in areas. So we actually moved 6 metres off, and we took the first 10.5 metres through the plots after the 6 metres. It was all in the morning drilling, which obviously that was the better drilling done. The Sumo and the Simtech though were 3 metre drills, so that was a bit of a mixture of morning and afternoon because their plots were smaller, but there's nothing we could do about that. So we took one 10.5 metre cut through the field. We then emptied at the end of every run into an empty trailer, and we kept the combine running to let all the grains out the tank. The trailer then came back to the yard to weigh, and most times there's only between 1.5 and 2 tons in. We sampled it, we tipped it, and then the trailer came back on the weighbridge to tear off to allow for any fuel usage on the road backwards and forwards to the field. So the results we're about to give you are really, really accurate. Each plot was 0.29 of a hectare, and so I've actually multiplied up the area of grain we collected with the weighbridge reading. I've multiplied it by 0.29 to get to a tonnes per hectare figure. I've also put the moisture content in the table here, you'll see, and I've actually adjusted them all to 15% moisture because we did them early evening, those of you who watch the live videos, and those of you who haven't, if you go back through a few of my posts, you'll see the live videos from when I actually put up when we were combining the plots. They started off at 11.17% moisture, and then when we got to finishing, which was about 11 o'clock at night, they went up to 12.39% moisture. So I've adjusted them all to 15% to make the yields even more accurate. So that's how we did it. So it was all really, really controlled and very accurately done. The soil type, remember, is about 50% clay, 30% silt, and 20% sand, and it's fairly consistent across the field. Anyway, that was how we did the plots and yielded it. I'll now just show you the sheets and go through some of the figures. I've printed a sheet off rather than show you the computer screen because I know when you zoom in they flicker a bit. So looking at this sheet now, the first plot, or the best yielding plot, was the Simba Free Flow, and the second one, which we turned into a plot, that was the car park. Those of you remember, the actual field was drilled on April the 6th when the demo was, but we actually then drilled the headlands and the car park about 8 days later, which was very late for spring crops, but we thought we'd take a yield from it because it did come well, and those of you who visited the site afterwards said how well the headlands and the other areas looked, so we took a breathe through that area. And you can see the free flow was 6.8 tonnes per hectare, and the car park, which was drilled by the free flow, was 6.73. That's the adjusted yield, that one, up to 15% moisture. Those are the actual tonnes per hectare at this moisture combining. Going across for establishment, you can see this free flow established. We actually planted 400 seeds a square metre across the site. All the drills were asked to set up that, and I hope they were all accurate at that. Our free flow, because it was quite wet underneath, if you remember, we established 236 plants. which was only 59% germination, and that was 5th best germination of all the plots. Bushel weight was okay, grain nitrogen low, and obviously grain nitrogen is linked to yield. There's our dilution factor, so the higher yield you get, the lower the grain nitrogen will be. And this is malting barley on a contract, and as long as it's below 1.85, it's fine, it will pass. So all these drills pass. Screenings here retained need to be, I think it's above 90%, which they're all okay apart from one of those lower down isn't. And the screenings need to be all below 4%, which they all are apart from one of those drills. And admix is irrelevant. So there we are looking at what we've got. So free flow twice was the best yielding by considerable margin. Claydon was next at 5.85 tonnes a hectare. Percent germination there, it only had 188 plants established, which was 47%, and that was 8th place in the germination table. Bushel weights a bit lower as well. Obviously the free flow one's quite good, but I think when you start to look at these now, the free flow and the Claydon were the drills that caused the most soil disturbance. Remember, we put 50 kilos of nitrogen on when we established the crop, when we applied the glyphosate, and that obviously, the more disturbance the drills were, that mixed the nitrogen in with the soil, which meant the plants could pick it up sooner. Whereas you look at some of these other ones, I think they're lower yielding, despite them having higher germination, because they couldn't get hold of the nitrogen. So number 3 in the yield stakes was the Amazon Cayenne, 5.86 tonnes per hectare. In the germination table, it had 234 plants established, which was 6th position in the table for germination, 58.5%. Again, the rest of the quality samples fairly similar. We then number 5. After that was the Horsch Avatar at 5.78 tonnes per hectare. Percent germination was 60.5. It had 242 plants established, which was actually 4th best drill on establishment percentage. We then look at the next drill. There was the Sky Easy drill, and I thought that plot looked about the best, along with the Avatar and probably the Sabertine. But it's interesting how the yields are where they are. So the Easy drill was 5.78, which is virtually identical to the Avatar. But yet establishment, you can see we've got 59.5 on the Easy drill, which was a 3rd best established plot. We then went down to the Weaving Sabertine at 5.65 tonnes per hectare, and the plants established there was 252, which was 63% germination, and that was the 2nd best drill for establishing. We then had the Horizon DSX at 5.56 tonnes per hectare, and this was the best established plot of them all. You can see here it established 65.7% of the 400 seeds, which was 263 seeds actually established. But because again the disc drills are very low disturbance, I think the reason the yield is lower is because it didn't get hold of the nitrogen until we got a few millimetres of rain right into May, and I think that's why these drills are lower. Then we look at the Dale Eco at 5.49 tonnes per hectare, and in the establishment stakes that was down to 54.8. That was the 7th best drill establishing at 219 plants a square metre. We then went down to the Sumo DTS at 4.76 tonnes per hectare. Plants established was low here, 155, which is only 38.7%, and that was the last placed establishment drill. And I think it's really a bit unfair here because of how the Sumo works. It definitely wasn't ideal conditions for that and some of the other drills, and so I'll be very wary about making any purchasing decisions on these results because I think me asking the drills to perform in this situation was a little bit unfair, but all credit to the manufacturers, they were good and did it. Then the last place drill was the Simtech TSEM at 4.32 tonnes per hectare. That actually was the highest moisture plot, if you see, because that was the last one we harvested. 171 plants established, 42% germination, 42.7. It was the 9th, second to last drill established. But again, very, very low disturbance that was, and I think it left a slot as well, and the chains on the back weren't really right for this soil type. Just to look at 2 other fields, the 22 acres, our long-term cover crop field, you see that we've done with this Sprinter. And you'll saw that when we're drilling it, that came in at 6.38 tonnes per hectare, and this was drilled the 29th of March. And then the Squires field here, 8.25 tonnes per hectare. This is in our standard system that is soloed in the autumn, no cover crop, sprayed with glyphosate in the autumn, glyphosate again pre-drilling with the nitrogen, and then drilled with a free flow. So this is our standard system, and you can just see here, and this was drilled 26th of March, 27th of March. You can just see why we are using this system when we get in the yields we are here. Massive difference, and I think this translates to over £500 per hectare better return. So some really interesting data. Parameters here, yield parameters here, they were all, nitrogen was all okay. It was all 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. As long as we were below 1.85 on this contract, we're okay. So those sort of quality parameters on these columns were all fairly similar and fairly irrelevant because they all passed. And I just think I've got a few notes here down at the bottom, but maximum grain nitrogen on our contract is 185. But yeah, I just think really interesting result, and it just shows here that why we are using our free flow and our Simba drill on our soil type. Yeah, people say you have to have a few years of a yield hit with this just to before you get to where you want to be with establishing cover crops and direct drilling. But we are 8 years down in this trial on this 22 acre, and we are still having massive yield penalties from direct drilling and cover crops. And I just don't think we can actually financially afford to keep going. If this was on a farm scale, we wouldn't be able to afford these hits every year, to wait for the year when the yields are going to even out and our costs are going to be better, because at the minute we are suffering huge financial loss on this field that's direct drilling and cover crops. But anyway, thank you very much to all the manufacturers who came on our open day on April the 6th. It was really good of you to come and sort of pick your drill against everybody else there. Yes, we have upwards of 300 farmers. It was a really successful day. I hope everybody got as much out of it as I did. We will be doing other demonstrations like this, whether it's a drilling demonstration or a cultivation demonstration, or I'm even just toying the idea of having a harvesting demonstration as well and getting all combines in the field. But that will maybe a bit tricky and maybe won't get the attendance because everybody will be harvesting their own crops. But really fascinating trial. We are going to have an open day in November when everybody's worked up to discuss these at more detail. I'm trying to get DEFRA here on the farm, and I am making some headway with that, and I think we'll end up with 2 or 3 people from DEFRA coming to look at what we're finding here, because this really does have implications for DEFRA's new strategy on the farming incentive or sustainable farming incentive and the future direction of where they want agricultural policy to be. And so if you'd like to come to that open day, please just keep watching my channel here, because I'll give the dates out for that. But it was sometime in November, and we're going to have a lot of discussions on this. We're going to do lots of research and think about how we can make best use of this data. So thank you everybody for your interest in this. Thank you all for coming on April the 6th. And again, thank you manufacturers. I can't thank you enough for this, because you went above and beyond your call of duty to come on the day, and even though the conditions weren't great, you still performed. So all credit to you for that. Brilliant, and thank you very much. Just also to go back on these yields, I'm sure the reason why the Simba came out the best was because it's obviously quite a high disturbance drill, and because of the nitrogen that we put in the sprayer with the glyphosate and put on the soil surface, when the drill put the seed in the ground, obviously it was mixing up the nitrogen within the soil rather than it sit on top. So the minute the shoots of the new seeds germinated and put out a little root, it was picking up that nitrogen instantly and helping it to grow. And the Simba plot was actually the first one to show green from the top of the hill. So I think that is why it probably yielded the best, even though the germination position was fifth best. And I know some of you are going to say I put the Simba drill on the best part of the field. It was all consistent soil type on 50 8% clay, as I've said. So I think, yeah, it was a really accurate and even and fair trial, but I'm sure that's why the free flow and the car park plot that was drilled with the free flow ended up yielding the best, because of the high disturbance of the drill. So this is the progress after 5 days of the house, which is great. Got the floors going in this next week, get stoned up and then concrete the floors as well. So looking good, and great view out the back as well. So that's it for another week. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and especially the direct drilling results. A lot of work gone into it with Agri, and also thank you to Agri for helping put this on with me, and agronomist Fred and Steve and Colin Lloyd and Justin and everybody at Agri who's helped with this, because it's certainly been a huge team effort in drilling these plots. So thank you for that. So anyway, until next week, please click like, subscribe and the bell sign, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.